Hello and welcome to From Panels to Pictures. This is the movie and TV podcast for the Comic Crush. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different. Before we get into that, hello Nikki, welcome back.
Hi, how's it going?
It's good. It's great to see you.
You too. It's been a while.
It has been. It's been like a couple of months, I think. So the last time we got together was for the Army of the Dead podcast, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah, so we did Jupiter's Legacy and Army of the Dead back to back. You can still catch those on the YouTube channel, guys. They're all there. Please do take a look and remember to subscribe or comment down in the thing below. I'd love to hear what you got to say. The Army of the Dead video is going great guns. Nearly 300 of you have watched that, so I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for all of you tuning in. I would love it if some of you subscribed. I would love it if some of you took a look at the Patreon. That would really help us out, or pick something up from the web store, especially if you're based in the UK. I can't do international orders at the moment because international shipping is a nightmare right now, thanks to Brexit.
You'll never get your packages.
Yeah,
you won't. Email, it's never getting there. I know.
Yeah. But if you're based in the UK and you want to order some comics, please do that from the web store. Please take a look at the Patreon and please do subscribe to this channel. Today, as I said, something a bit different. We're going to be talking about Aliens. It's the 35th anniversary this year of the film Aliens, James Cameron's seminal sci-fi action sequel from '86. It's kind of a bizarre one because although it's not comics based, there is a strong connection to comics with Aliens. First Dark Horse Comics made it a universal of its own, taking the building blocks across two franchises, Aliens and the one that's very dear to Nikki's heart, Predator. If you've never seen Nikki's heart, but you like Aliens and Predator, you should go straight to at Slanted Line now.
Thank you.
Which is her Instagram, because you will see. Aren't you doing like 30 days of Predator right now?
I did 15 days because I can't keep up with work. So it's like, all right, this is like a meaningless number, but we're gonna have to cap it at 15. So we just concluded 15 days of Larry the Predator,
right?
And we ended in London because that's where he was born.
and I actually do own. As was gifted to me by Nikki, a very lovely original Larry the Predator piece, which I'm very grateful for. I was just looking at that the other day, funnily enough, and thinking I've really got to put this up at some point because it's sort of hidden away in a box with some other art right now, and I need to kind of get it up.
Let him free.
But they're great. So it's Larry the Predator is a predator, just living his life, really, not going out killing anyone, just.
Baking,
chilling, baking,
drinking tea.
And you might be able to make out Nikki's t-shirt there, which is also a Larry the Predator.
Yeah, with Bob over here.
Bob the alien, yeah. I like it. It's great. It's great. You're taking those creatures to heights they would have never have gotten to without you. But you can support Nikki's art. Look, talk about branding. The Predator Cup there.
Just DM me. Just DM me for good.
Yeah, if you DM Nikki, she will sell you some really good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, please remember to do that because it does support Nikki. And she's a terrific artist and deserves your support. But we're going to talk about Aliens today, not Predator. So, Nikki, I mean, I saw this movie when I was relatively young. Sort of, I guess, about 12, 13 on VHS. Actually went and rented a tape back when you could do that. And I saw it before I saw the first Alien movie. So I knew about the first Alien movie and I'd read about it. But also I'd heard this was, this is amazing, this film, you've got to watch this. It was sort of right around the 86, 87, 88 period when I watched the most amount of films, when I was really getting into like kind of action cinema and things like that. And I watched this and Lost Boys and Die Hard and they all seem to have happened on the same weekend. It didn't.
Yeah, it was just like one after
another.
It
seems to have been one massive binge of really cool shit, So I just want to ask you, when did you first see this film, and had you already seen Alien?
Oh my God. Well, so let me just say right now, I am an original Alien diehard fan. Okay, so this conversation is going to veer off in places that you never thought it was going to go to. But I actually do not remember the first time I saw it because I actually did not like it at all. So
this film or
this
the original?
Aliens.
Wow. Okay,
yeah.
that's
not what you expected to hear, right?
No.
Yeah,
you did say to me at the beginning of this, just before we went on air, you're going to hear things that you'll be quite surprised to hear. And I am actually, I didn't expect to see this. You really didn't like it.
I did not like it at all. And actually, I'll put on Alien and I'll be lulled to sleep. Okay. I've seen that so many times. So the original, there's just something that clicked with me about the score, about the casting that was in there. The original is very magical to me. So seeing it done in this different style, and I'll get into why, is such a deviation from that initial magic. So I'm curious if it's because you saw the second one before you saw the first one. That's, that the majority of people actually, because I've heard people that really love that second one and then the first one takes a backseat to it. So I always find that interesting. But yeah, it could be something with the militantness of the score. So there's a different composer in the second one. So that doesn't have that same everything's that spacey vibe. There's the percussion and the snare drum is heavily used in it. Obviously, you have the goofy, once you see Bill Paxton's in it, it's oh my God, this is just going to be a motley crew of game over, man. Just ridiculous. And go ahead.
But it's just you saying that. Now, if I could.
I love Bill Paxton too.
Knowing a bit about you, if I could pick a bunch of random references that I think you'd love, I would have picked Bill Paxton in Aliens as that's it. But you're saying to me no. I'm really
well, you know me, based on all the other movies we've talked about. I cannot stand when humor is just scattered in serious things. So that's very abrasive to when I want to watch something and just get into it, then you have the comedic relief the whole way through.
It's really interesting that you said that, because I don't know if you saw the second trailer for Dune has popped up now on the internet, and I tweeted it out yesterday, and one of the big responses I got was from Paul Taylor, who's sort of a long time supporter of the pods and the videos and things, and he was saying I could do without all this Whedon-esque humor. And that does see, and a lot of people have kind of echoed that on social media, just saying, I really don't want all this kind of comedy, forced comedy in, and
it's too much.
That's interesting.
It diverts from the plot and the whole mission of it. Now, granted, when I first saw, I was a lot younger, and I was very
So just for the audience, neither of us saw this at the cinema. If I was definitely too young to see it, so you absolutely would have been too young.
See it. But however, and I've jumped into it, especially since we started talking about if I'm watching Alien, I'm watching the first one. However, when we started talking about doing the 35th anniversary podcast, I was I should just work this in more. Every time I want to go watch Alien, let me watch this one instead. Okay. So it's.
Well, thank you for doing that.
I'm thinking about it. I have to actively think about it. Yeah. And I actually like it a lot more now, considering I think the majority of movies that come out have that forced humor, and it's not as intense as new movies today. So it's definitely more tolerable watching it now in this movie world where there is a lot of forced comedy. So it's not exactly at today's level of forced comedy.
Right.
But again, that being said, I love Bill Paxton. All his lines in there are just absolutely ridiculous. The other big hit that I have, that I don't know if you agree with me or if I'm fabricating it, just because I think it's ruined a few movies for me.
Okay.
I effing hate having kid actors in movies. She was great. Newt was 100% great. I don't want to like watch this kind of like slip out. She's like, this bitch talking about me on this podcast. Great actress. She was perfect. If you're gonna have a kid actor in it, I hate having kid actors in movies. It ruined Thunderdome for me.
Well, they've got to work too.
Just write them out. Just write them out. Put a different character.
Well, yeah, that's more of a tricky one. I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind kids in movies. I think that sometimes works well, and I think it works well here. But really largely curious, because the film is about, or one of the things the film is about is motherhood.
Yeah.
And especially as you get into the longer cut, because you watch the original version of Aliens as presented in theaters and DVD and things. The only one I watch now is the director's cut. I never look at the shorter version because I've just completely kind of. So this actually should be interesting. I just want to contrast our experiences before I get into mine with a chap, Kevin Fitzgerald, who's on Twitter as @KRMF. He very kindly tweeted into us with his experience. I asked people about their experiences watching Aliens. And he says, I saw it at my university cinema in Scotland months after release. The sound of it shook the whole building at times. People tried to leave before the end twice.
Oh, my God.
And it was one of the wildest, most intense cinema trips of my life, and everyone lived it fully. Amazing.
Oh, that's so amazing.
See, now that's more akin to my experience of the film. Like when I saw it, and bear in mind, all we had then was either cinema or tape. That was how you saw movies. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was actually too young to go and see it at the cinema. So I think I would have been, like I said, about 12 or 13. And I just utterly blown away by it. I mean, I can't remember I don't think I'd even seen The Terminator at that stage.
Okay.
So James Cameron made that, then made this. But and then, of course, like looking at it later as I grew up and learned more about movies and more about Cameron's career and more about the original Alien, which I've got to say, when I originally watched it, I found quite boring. But hey, I was young. You know, I was young, and what you wanted was
action
when you were a kid. And
so loud. It's so loud. I was watching it again last night, and the score was just like boom, nothing. Then I'm like, damn it, I gotta put the volume up again and hear what the hell they're saying.
I listened to the music just before we did this.
Yeah.
It's a great score. So the original music for Alien was done by Jerry Goldsmith. This was done by James Horner. Very different composers. Mm-hmm. Both love a bit of percussion. In watching the movie, what strikes you as you kind of learn more about it is that it was a very forward-thinking film. Mm-hmm. In that, one, you have a woman as the lead, which was great. Two, she's not a kind of damsel in distress, at least physically. You know, she's perfectly capable of doing stuff. Mentally, it's a different story. There's all that trauma, and again, that was quite an interesting thing because it really becomes, in addition to being a film about motherhood, it becomes a film about facing your kind of traumas through direct action. Mm-hmm. And I know that Cameron at the time had in mind things like car accidents and how people will fixate if they've been involved in accidents. Like I got hit by a car once and I can never forget it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Too. Yeah.
And it was a minor thing. So but I do sometimes
you think about it every time you go by that same spot. Like,
even when I'm out in traffic now on the bike and things, like I haven't been here, I really tense up. And so the movie kind of becomes about those things. But you also tackle some interesting themes, such as the military in space, the kind of corporate responsibility in, I mean, which is entirely absent here. Corporate responsibility, Vietnam, which was kind of still very fresh because there were a ton of films around the 80s that were kind of exercising the ghost of Vietnam in a way. Via things like, there were a lot of, the cops were Vietnam vets. Lethal Weapon was a good example of that. Or they were directly about Vietnam. And I think this tackled one of the things that the people don't always grasp, which is how, a huge military force like the US Army could have had their asses handed to them in Vietnam, basically, because this is what this is. It's a much smaller, more efficient enemy comes in and just decimates them because 100%. They understand the terrain they're in a lot better, and also they're more ruthless.
Well, and then you have and I think they presented it very well in the beginning too, where you had everybody, oh, she's still an alien once, and like everybody's picking on her, and they're not leveraging her expertise with it. They're just like, oh, this is just like another thing. They're cocky, you sort of want to see them get smacked around a little bit, but they're not coming back from this thing, but it's just like this overly arrogant approach. And then you had right from the top down, you had damn it, what's that guy's name?
Paul Reiser as Burke.
Him, the Mad About You guy. Can't stand him, but like, just you look at him, you just want to just want to. But like, he's a shitbag. But like, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the guy that was leading the mission. Now I can't. Remember.
So Gorman.
Gorman, that's it.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the actor. I feel really bad because he actually is a really good actor.
Yeah, but
and he's done a bunch of things.
This was his. How are you going to send somebody on this important? Could be like,
but
you're going to hook this woman on to go back into this traumatizing situation. You're going to bring some guy that didn't even go out like more than once. Like, what the hell?
And the interesting thing about that is all of that comes from the top down, and it's an interesting thing where you have the corporate entity telling the military what to do, which is part of the reason why various countries, including my own, get involved in so many skirmishes because as I stand now, it's a sort of statistical fact that England has invaded more countries than anywhere else. Quite a lot of that is based on shipping routes and things like that, and this is what this is. It's mining, it's resources. So the corporate entity just co-ops the military and sends it out there, which is not what the military should be used for. And personally speaking, I heard a thing once that actually I think a film director said, where he kind of went, "I'm pro-military but anti-war," and I think that's probably sums up my feeling on it.
It's a good statement.
But they kind of co-opt the military and send them out there, so they probably have got some say over who goes. So it doesn't surprise me that they pick like the Greenhorn to lead the unit, even though it's kind of peppered with more experienced soldiers. But also Burke does do something which I think is absolutely right in the film, and he's actually really human, where he says to Ripley, look, the best way for you to deal with this is just to go out there and deal with it. And it's just like, oh no, he's absolutely right.
Right,
even though later on he kind of decides to go, I'm gonna
jerk off. Well, what exactly did he expect to do? We're giving spoilers. Everybody's watched this movie. Right?
It's 35. It's the 35th anniversary. If you haven't watched it by now, that's your problem.
Get it together. Like, where was he going when he just locked them out? Like, did he think he was gonna survive that?
Yeah, I think his idea was that she says it in the film that he was going to impregnate her and Newt, and then sabotage all the sleeping units on the way home, which is interesting because it makes him, rather than the android who we think is going to be the duplicitous one, it's actually the human who becomes the more duplicitous kind of entity. And in a way, that's a nice turnabout on Cameron's earlier movie on the Terminator, where, of course, the machine is the thing you've got to watch out for.
Yeah.
And here it's the human being is like, no, yeah, I'm just gonna kill all of you.
F all of you.
Yeah. Which is a great sequence, and I think that there's a lot to be said there about corporate complicity in disasters. I mean, we've seen it in there's the Bhopal disaster in India. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Deepwater Horizon is a big one that comes to mind. I don't know if you know anything about that. You know, the oil rig that exploded off the coast of Miami, I believe it was. And in fact, recently, I think there was an oil rig that kind of went up so badly, the literal ocean was on fire beneath the surface.
That's crazy.
I mean,
and all they're going to do is PR it and take some nice pictures.
Well, I mean, I guess it's hard to PR.
We're on it. I mean, just don't do it. How about that? But
I mean, that's actually an aspect they haven't explored in any of these movies. Is
no, they don't.
The kind of public reaction, what the public reaction would be to, oh yeah, we found this thing that's entirely lethal, but
that's so funny you mentioned that. You know, it never even dawned on me, like even reading all the comics too, because now they switched over to Marvel, and I was like, I wonder if they're going to do something different with this. But it really is like that one person that knows, and something happens internally, and they have to do damage control, before it gets out.
I think Dark Horse took it to different degrees, but I mean, I think that now the next stages of the Alien series, either as comics or I don't know if you know, there's a TV series coming.
I didn't know that, actually. No.
Right. So the guy, the showrunner, I'm sure you're just busy. So the showrunner from the Fargo TV series.
Oh, okay.
Is now doing an Alien series for Disney Plus.
Oh, wow.
And all that he said is that it will be Ripley free. So it won't be based on Sigourney Weaver's character, which I'm actually quite relieved about, because I think you've had 4 movies which have all been drastically different in tone and content. And I think we've done her journey, at least for now.
Yeah. And
I think it's good to kind of lay that character to rest and let her have a day off. Although she's a great character, we'll get into in a minute. So he's said that he's going to do this TV series based on Alien. Now, I'm hoping, what I would like to see is, because it only makes sense to me now if the company succeed and do what they wanted to do, which was get the alien. It only makes sense. And there's a degree of that in one of the other Alien movies, Alien Resurrection, which Keith and I are going to be talking about when we do the Patreon bonus content for this pod. So yeah, I would like to see it go to that next stage.
I want to see them in New York, just got all these Jason movies, Jason in space, Jason here, Jason there. I'm like, yeah, let's bring Alien on a European tour, just bring them everywhere. You
could do that with Larry, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, he's
Larry
been all over. Yeah.
But I think it only makes sense. It's like watching Westworld. Yeah. Like when you get to the end of Westworld, I think season 2, it only makes sense. And sorry for anyone who's not watched Westworld, the TV series. Yeah. There is a spoiler coming up. It only makes sense if they get out of the park.
Yeah,
if the robots leave the park, it only makes sense.
Yeah,
because that's the only place it can go. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only so much damage control in space you can do with a company that just keeps pounding away at it. It has to break free.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, as with all things, I'm interested.
Yeah.
I get more excited as I go on.
I know it's Disney Plus, but I want to be on those podcasts. Sorry, Liz.
I don't. Oh no! Well, Liz isn't set. So Liz loves the Marvel stuff, and so I always get Liz on the Marvel stuff, and she'll definitely be continue to do those. But yeah, we'll come back. Maybe actually we can I don't know, switch out week by week. Although I don't think this is coming until like 2023 or something.
Aw, damn it! I thought this was like, at the end of the year, like Christmas time for Nikki.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have won the lottery by then. To be Nikki, I'll just be like, bye. No more podcasts. No, I'm kidding. But in talking about the film, like you've got to give credit to Sigourney Weaver, who shepherded these things. And originally, like I think they did a version of the film that was about Ripley, and then Cameron was asked to pursue a script without her, and he was just like, no, I'm not doing that. I think because he'd invested a ton of time in that script that was all about Ripley, all about motherhood. Which is the film, it becomes a battle of mothers, really. And that's totally what it's about.
which is interesting, and again, huge contrast from the original. But while I could do without lines like "Stay away from her, you bitch," and then I can't.
What are you talking about?
I can't do it. I'm like, oh, Jesus,
that's one of the best
soccer mom brawl.
That is one of the best lines in cinema.
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Listen, I watched it again last night because I wanted to be fresh for today.
Yeah, thank you.
I effing just died laughing. I'm like, oh, what a stupid line. What a stupid line. Get away from her, you bitch.
We're going to get lambasted in the comments for this. Why are you...
Comment below. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was what, but again, I have grown to appreciate Bill Paxton's like that zaniness. Like it's just ridiculous at times. And I was like, why wouldn't she say that? Why wouldn't there be over the top explosions that look totally fake? Like that's another thing with me. That's another thing with me. All right, let me. Great. We've gotten to the end of this. We finally do Alien, and Nikki hates the movie. No, what I was gonna say is like the CG. Like I have a problem with CG that doesn't hold up.
It's not CG. It's no CG.
Wait, what do you mean? Like all those explosions and clouds that aren't sized properly for the ship when they're landing. There's none of that. Like everything's like made.
You know this. Look, right. So CG obviously is this predates CG, so it was all done photochemically, which is normally done with I can't even remember what it's called now. It's been so long, but basically it's a printing process. So you shoot one element like the clouds, and then you shoot another element like the spaceship, and all you do is then you project them together and shoot that. And you usually have to do those on really high res film, so 70 millimeter, 65 mil, basically. Well, like IMAX is, but turned the proper way, so it's going up to the camera. So all of that stuff is done photochemically. What they tried with this film, which I don't think had really been used before, was a thing called front projection. So there's back projection where the screen is there and the camera is, or the projector is behind it, projecting onto the screen, and the actors act in front. Here it was done with front projection, which actually looks a little better and a little more realistic. I think you are insane. Now, whilst look, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. So whilst you can absolutely tell that they are visual effects. I think that for the most part, especially when you're dealing with the monsters themselves, the creatures, any of that stuff, it looks
Beautiful.
100% real.
It's beautiful. I have no knock on the monsters, and
I'm ashamed that you called it CG.
I'm gonna go cry now.
30 years before.
I can't because you know what, James Cameron. I met him once, and then
Really?
I got food poisoning and passed out. But
from
I did shake
something
his hand.
he made.
Yeah, no. Oh my god, I met him at an event. I went to school at Hunter, and they had like these CUNY events, and he had just come out with Avatar, and he was sharing about the 3D technology and where it was going. It was pretty interesting, and like, again, very nice, person. Or at least gave me the time of day to shake my hand,
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's not fair. I don't want to take anything away from the work that goes into it.
However, it's fine.
However, it's a tick that I have when I watch stuff that doesn't, like, if you watch the original Jurassic Park, it still holds up today because everything was animatronics. It was made, there's something scarier about it.
Some of it, like in Jurassic Park, I mean, I guess the rule of thumb is if you see a whole dinosaur, so legs, tail, head, that's fake, that's CG. If you see part of a dinosaur, that'll be, quote unquote real, so that'll be an animatronic. But I think that for the time, Aliens was head and shoulders above anything else. I mean, like the Queen is probably it's still one of the greatest effects I've ever seen in my life.
Gross.
Yeah, and that's a puppet. That's a giant puppet, and
amazing.
And to get what they got out of that, I thought was staggering, and it still blows me away. I mean, the scene in the air duct. Where
they're crawling up,
and they're crawling.
It's scary.
And also, as you learn more about how that was done, which was, I think, and I'm sure you guys have all seen documentary stuff on aliens before. So sorry if we're going to bore you with some of this. So Cameron told the guys at Fox, because they were like, "Look, we don't have the money for you to do hundreds of these monsters," and he was just like, "No, I can do this with 6 or 8 guys in suits." And that's what it is. So it's 6 or 8 guys who I think were gymnasts and dancers in latex suits with pieces of the creatures stuck to those latex suits. And then, so in the air duct, the camera is flipped upside down.
Yeah.
So they're crawling on, so what looks like the top is actually the bottom.
Yeah.
Camera's flipped upside down like Batman used to do, you remember? And it's just lit in such a way that you can't really make out the human movement, because the biggest problem with a lot of that stuff is you can tell something's a man in the suit because of the way it moves. And it's actually very easy for the human eye to pick out human movement. And nowadays, like when you look at like werewolf movies, they do a lot of that with guys on like these steel step things for their legs. It makes them look bigger and also moves so 6 guys in suits is essentially how it was done. The Queen is a big puppet, which I think took about 14 people to operate in total, but is actually made up of 4 or 5 people positioned on top. So someone does the arms and someone does the head, all that stuff. So I mean, I think it's actually a masterpiece of physical visual effects. I am shocked.
I told you were going to be shocked.
Your feelings are.
I'm an original snob.
Oh,
I think that's what it comes down to. Because again, like I watched it. It's really, I love it. I love Alien. I love everything Alien. I'll sit through and watch all of them. But yeah, I guess I hold the first one dear to my heart.
Sure.
But yeah.
And I think they are very different films. The first one is a horror movie. The second one is a war movie.
Yeah.
And the first one isn't really about catharsis, but the second one is, and that's an entirely different mood. See, I think it's actually a masterpiece. I'm really kind of.
I'm happy. I was really curious to see what you had to say about it today. What did you think about that scene when they had a truce going on between the Queen and Ripley, and everybody backed off.
Yeah.
And then she just like blew out the egg. She was like, you know what? F this truce. I'm gonna just like.
To be fair,
mm-hmm.
the creatures back off, and then one of the eggs opens up, and that's why she tortures it.
Got it. Okay, so that was one of the questionable things for me. Was it just like hatching at that moment, or was she just like, "Hey, go do this thing now"?
There is a general kind of accepted thing in the alien universe. Sorry, this is getting into nerdism now. I'm sorry.
No, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
So the possibility is that the creatures are sort of quasi telepathic.
Yeah.
So they can. Mm-hmm. That's where, because they've got no sensory array. They've got no eyes. They've got no ears. They've got no tongue. That's another jaw. It's not a tongue, so it's not tasting anything. There's nothing for them to sensory. Yeah, I know, it's great. It's very great if you've got an oral fixation like me. There's nothing for them to. There's no sensory input. So that I think what the kind of people who write the alien lore figured out is that they're quasi telepathic. And it is a literal hive where the queen is controlling all the kind of things around it.
So I justified to torture everything.
Yeah. So for me, the inference is that she made the egg kind of open up. I still like. I'm really just horrified. I didn't like it. I'm just like,
no, I like it. I have parts. I mean, let's see. I was writing this stuff down. Like, Paul's gonna just like go nuts on me.
I'm not. As again, guys, I always think people are entitled to their opinions. Entitled to their informed opinions, and Nikki has watched the movie several times, so whatever she thinks is absolutely cool by me.
I knew you were gonna be surprised though.
No, but I am shocked.
Yeah,
because I've never met a person that doesn't like it.
Yeah, you know, I think that oh man, I don't know why. Like, yeah, it's just I have my preference. And I think my excitement comes with uncovering something for the first time, and that not knowing element. And she went into it knowing it was going to be bad, knowing these people were shady, and then, the kid pick up, which I'm happy she was saved. But yeah, I have a terrible thing with kid actors.
That's the whole film, though.
Although I will say I did like Terminator 2, but
the whole film is about being a mother.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. But I like it. I'll watch it anytime, but it's not my favorite.
That
curious
kid,
what people think.
That kid was not an actor by all accounts. Like, she was just, I think she was a military brat, if you like, or her parents were in the military, and they found, and it was a requirement for the American backers or equity that they had to look at every American actor working in London at that time, before they started on the British actors or something like that.
Okay.
Because the only real American actor they could bring over without asking permission was Sigourney Weaver, and everyone else had to kind of be, vetted.
Got it. Yeah.
It's something to do with like the laws of whatever country you're working in terms of where you hire from and stuff like that.
That still goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Corporate, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's done for the Screen Actors Guild, and it's designed to make sure that people are getting employed, which is a good thing. And yeah, my understanding is that she was an actor. And in fact, if you look at all the documentary stuff on her, she has a sort of quasi-British accent.
Oh, really?
And they took her to when she was a kid, bless her. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of the soldiers have sort of quasi-British accents because they were all kind of American expats living or
Yeah.
working in London at the time. Michael Biehn, who plays Hicks, Kyle Reese, as we pointed out in the off-air stuff. Yeah. So he
Love
was
him.
actually not the actor designed, he was in that role at first. So he was a very late replacement.
Really?
Yeah.
He's the best. How is he not the first
it's great.
choice?
Well, because they had cast a guy called James Remar, who is a very good actor. He was in The Warriors. He's like the lead. Yeah. And latterly, I mean, he's been in hundreds of films and TV shows. But latterly, I think one of the things he was really famous for was he was Kim Cattrall's hotel-owning rich boyfriend in Sex and the City in like the last couple of seasons of that. Yeah, he's a bit of a like he does sort of sleaze bags very well. He's a good actor.
Oh yeah,
he's a really good actor.
That was the sleaze bag in Warriors.
Yeah. But
now I remember. Yeah.
He got replaced. He was, I don't know what the issue was, but he was replaced by Michael Biehn at very late notice. So Michael Biehn didn't have to do any training or anything like that. He just came in, put the costume on, and did.
I know he was like born for that role, but like, what a weird thought to think that it was gonna be. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the actor's name.
James Remar.
Like, can you imagine that movie with him in it?
I think there's a couple of shots where you can see him, although you can't really see his face.
Oh,
because they're all but there are a couple of shots where he's still in it. But it happens. I mean, Nicole Kidman on Panic Room, although that was for entirely different reasons. That was like due to injury and stuff like that. And sometimes it's for the better. Harvey Keitel on Apocalypse Now.
Oh wow!
Like he shot a load of stuff with Harvey Keitel, and then Harvey Keitel was replaced by Martin Sheen, which is probably one of the most famous ones of all time.
Whoa! Yeah.
But like it does happen. I can't imagine. Yeah, anyone else playing the role.
See, like this makes me like Aliens even more because he was picked for it. Like, but I can't imagine because he's so clean cut and like he's got that certain look to him that isn't like, deceiving. Like even in Terminator, I never once doubted that he was like a good person.
Right.
Looks like an up.
I think he has got quite a clean cut sensibility to him. He's very kind of bullshit free, like especially now talking to him. I think he's done his time and he's just very much like I'll say whatever I want. And he popped up in, I don't know if you watched The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Star Wars, right. So he's in the second season of that, and it took me nearly the entire episode to recognize him.
Yeah, some of that is which character do you remember?
So in the episode where the Mandalorian goes off to the planet and meets I can't remember the name, the Jedi with the things coming out.
Oh, okay. He was on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, so he's like the right-hand man of the evil woman who's running the thing. And it took me ages because obviously he's got a bit older and he looks completely different. His hair's all kind of slicked back. But he's a terrific actor, and I know he did some great stuff, and I would love to see him do more kind of roles. I would have loved to have seen him do more, but I think his career kind of faltered in the 90s. Like he did that awful Navy SEALs movie with Charlie Sheen. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
You really should watch it. It's an experience.
I'll check it out.
It's so bad.
I'm gonna rip into it.
Yeah. Oh god, it's so. But I think that movie is kind of widely acknowledged to be bad.
Oh my god! Well, I'm gonna check it out anyway. He's great. Like he was literally born for that role. I can't even imagine him not being in that movie. Oh, now that we're bringing it up, because obviously I go into things with a different lens. were they just like impressing each other in that, or was there supposed to be like a little love connection?
Well, there was. I think the general idea was at the end, what you have is a sort of family.
Yeah.
So Nick, Hicks, Newt, and Ripley will form a family, which of course David Fincher then just utterly destroyed at the beginning of Alien 3. And I think that the idea was there would be a further film with those characters in.
Got it.
And of course, as with Alien, each of those movies took a minimum of 6 years between films. So the first one was 79, the second one was 86 or thereabouts, 85, 86. The third one took I think amongst the longest, so that was 92.
Yeah.
So that's,
I feel like the visuals reflect
yes, that's 4, 5, another 7 years or so. Another 6 years, and the next one. Actually, I think the next one it was the shortest time, which was about 99. I want to say 97. It was 1997, I believe. So actually, no, not the shortest amount of time. It was nearly, but like, I think that those amount of times have allowed each filmmaker to come along and make something new and fresh each time, whether or not you like it or not. I think each film is, yeah, but not as much. But it's interesting. Like, I mean, Alien is, I think, in terms of ideas and visual information, Alien is a much superior film. So I don't want to get too much into this because obviously Keith and I are going to talk about the rest of the movies. However, I think Aliens as a movie is a lot better. It's got a lot more forward momentum. So like,
I can agree with that.
Like a movie is a delivery system for ideas, as all stories are. But sometimes a movie is the delivery system also for plot. And I think as a delivery system for plot, like Aliens is it. It just...
it really drives forward. Yeah. You know, I can totally agree with that statement. And I got to say, because like another thing, and, you know, maybe I'm just connecting the dots here too, but like, you know that I love horror movies, but I love it because of that grit on the film. And that is something that is definitely more prevalent in Alien versus Alien. So like it has like this very, you know, nostalgic feel to me that I'm drawn to. So when I see the graphics change, it's jarring for me. And that's just
but I mean, they're all, I mean, all the Alien movies were shot on film. None of them were shot digitally just because they all predate the digital era. And I think everyone is textured differently. I think Alien is the most textured. And also partly because film stock was very different in the 70s to the way it was in the 80s. You know, they gradually got into faster stocks. And I mean, I only know a little bit about photography. I'm not that smart, unfortunately. I never really kind of understood it. But my understanding is that the faster film stock you have, the easier it is for you to shoot in lower light. And I think part of the issue with Aliens was they didn't just replace some of the actors, they replaced the director of photography who began the film.
Wait, did it?
Yeah,
I think it cut out.
No, it didn't get cut. Like they cut the oh no, just sorry, the video just stopped. Sorry guys, just technically. So they replaced the director of photography who was a British lighting cameraman in the old lighting cameraman tradition, which is where the director would say, I want to do this, and the DP would then go off and light it how best he thought. Whereas Cameron wanted a low lit movie that was kind of lit by the lamps on the helmets and stuff like that. And director of photography kept fucking throwing light and everything, and they were just like, no. And of course, because it's an effects heavy movie, what physical effects guys hate is tons of light.
Makes it look
because it makes it look fake. And I still genuinely think it's one of the most realistic movies. So a guy called Adrian Biddle who was like a lighting assistant on the first Alien film, stepped in and took over, and that was his first sort of full DP credit.
Interesting.
Yes, so I guess Aliens. I'm just really surprised that I don't expect to find anyone who prefers it to Alien, even though I kind of do. And in fact, I'll be honest with you, and I'll say this now. I actually think Alien 3 is probably the best directed of all the Alien movies.
Interesting.
Which is something I'll get into with Keith. I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything. That's Keith's territory.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely interested to hear.
He's going to go mad when I say it.
Oh, wow.
But I think it's the best directed.
But I think more people agree with you, to be honest.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of respect for Ridley Scott. Loves, the people that love Ridley Scott really love Ridley Scott, and I completely get it. And James Cameron I love as a director. I don't necessarily really love his films now. I don't love them in the same way. I love his ambition.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a more ambitious director, apart from Chris Nolan, maybe in working in films now, because even looking at Titanic, which is not for me the greatest of movies, I will still continually watch it because what I love about it is the ambition. I love the fact that he's kind of gone, no, I'm going to build the ship. Like, you understand that, right? I'm going to build the freaking ship at nearly full size.
Wow. And I've never seen it, actually.
Have you never? Oh.
I've never seen it. Everybody's shocked at that.
I would watch it, and then there's a great book by a woman called Paula Parisi.
Okay.
On the making of Titanic, which is just about what he did to create the film, and it really goes into detail about the struggle to make it. And at one point, they kind of changed the entire coastline because they had to dynamite out an area to create a tank big enough to tip the ship up. And I think what was done to make that film is incredible. The film, to a certain degree, is incredible, but it's not. It lets itself down, I think, in terms of its kind of very easy drama and very kind of melodramatic. I think there was a more complex film to be had and a more interesting film to be had. But hey, I'm not the one spending 200 million to make it, so I should probably just shut up. But I think Aliens is a masterpiece. I'm really shocked that you don't.
I know. I
just thought this is going to be right up Nikki's street. She's going to love this. She's going to be
all for. I love this conversation. You know what? I love it even more that you were defending it more than me.
Did you honestly think?
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where our conversation was going to go today, but I was really curious to see what you had thought about it and how you perceived it while you were watching it. But I was like, he's never gonna see this coming for me.
No, I just genuinely didn't. I genuinely thought you'd be all guns blazing, cheerleading for the movie. And
I am, though. I love it because it's Alien.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So I'm always gonna be on board. However, I do have some bullet points.
But no, I think that's great because it's made for a more interesting conversation. I'm just really
unless everybody that's listening is infuriated.
Hey, but I want to hear what people have to say because I'd like to hear some people that agree with you, because that's what I don't often hear is people that say, nah.
Yeah, actually, I really am interested to see how everybody that actually watches, and listens in perceived it.
It's fascinating to get someone who doesn't like a classic. Although, there is this thing going around now where there is a habit to take a big movie that everyone loved or a movie that nobody liked but has since become like a cult classic and rubbish it whenever there's an anniversary. And I don't agree with that. There's a few where I'm not even clicking on the link. It's just the Terminator is actually a bad movie.
Get out of here! Don't want to hear from you.
It's just clickbait. But again, we should at least listen to those opinions and see,
Yeah.
See what people have got to say. So thank you for giving me something to actually kind of,
I'm curious if you're
chew on and like.
You're gonna be like, F these kids in movies now. Like,
I'm probably not.
motherhood is disgusting. Some good takeaways.
But I am really shocked. So Nikki, I mean, do you have anything else you want to add on this before we head out?
Podcast over, man.
It is very much game over, man, for us. Thank you for doing this, Nikki. I really appreciate you taking the time. Like, it's lovely. You'll be back hopefully for the Patreon only podcast for Superman 2 in a few weeks. Keith and I will be talking about the Richard Lester version of Superman 2. Nikki and I will be talking about the Richard Donner version of Superman 2. I can't wait to hear what you think of that. But I know that's something you've been wanting to talk about for a while. I'm really glad we're going to get an opportunity to do that. Keith will be back on talking about the other Alien movies with me. Hopefully we should have this out by the end of July. It's a scheduling nightmare. So right after this, I'm recording the podcast on Black Widow, which is going out today.
Check it out today.
Yeah, well, late tonight, I think. by the time I get done with dinner and get the podcast out and get it all done, it should be late tonight. And hopefully you guys will subscribe to the channel. Do check out comiccrush.com for comic book stuff. Check out some of the Alien comic books. They are amazing. Marvel have republished them, I believe, in sort of omnibus editions. If you can check out the old Dark Horse ones, that's worth checking. I can see Nikki, Liz messaging me now.
Going, oh, really? Where are you at?
Yeah. So Liz, hopefully I'll be on in a few minutes. Yeah, Nikki, let's do this again sometime. We'll do this again for Superman 2. And actually, I think we've got to take the opportunity at some point to do this for Predator.
Please. Oh my God. I cannot wait. You can pick whichever one you want.
We'll do that. We should do the original 2 movies. Do you know, Nikki, funny enough, we recorded myself and Rob Debb, who's like a comedian who I know from Orbital, and Tom Gunning, who worked at Orbital. We saw the Predator movie and we did a podcast on it, and it was hilarious. It went so awry because all we ended up talking about was the original movie.
That's amazing. You guys hated it. I know you guys hated it. You've told me.
Yeah, we hated it. Yeah.
I mean,
Christ, we hated the most recent sequel.
I don't agree. Could be worth bringing it up.
Oh my God. Right.
Although I guess you could argue the same point, how I don't like children and bringing pets into movies, but we can talk about that another time.
Brilliant. Nikki, thank you so much for doing this. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Paul.
I hope you have a great weekend. Have a lovely one. So guys, thanks for watching. comiccrush.com. Nikki's on @slantedline on Instagram. You can pick up her art and her music as well. Her music is excellent and you should check it out. But Nikki, thanks for doing this, and I'll catch you soon.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.